the most important thing is don't chase your cat. If you're in a situation, you see your cat shoot out the door, you see your cat jump out of the car. I've had people in wrecks where they saw the cat ejected from the car. Chasing the cat always makes it worse. Try to rein in that human instinct to pursue and grab.
Join us for a chat with the experts as we help and encourage you to share in a life of adventure with your cat. Remember, no adventure is too big or too small. We can't wait to learn, grow, and explore with you. Hello and welcome to the Kitty Cat Go Adventure Podcast, where we discuss various topics related to traveling and adventuring with your cat. I'm your host, Emily Hall, and today I am chatting with Kimberley Freeman, also known as the Lost Cat Finder. She is going to share her knowledge and tips for how to prevent losing your cat and what you should do if they ever do get lost. As a full-time lost cat tracker, Kim has 9 years of practice finding missing cats and the dirt under her nails to prove it. Combining missing persons profiling with animal tracking, bird language, and the science of lost cat behavior, she's been deemed the world expert in lost cat recovery, solving cases in 48 states and 17 countries. Her mission is getting cats found before they end up in shelters, and she's created a video on how to do it. Because cats need special techniques tailored to feline psychology, Freeman's search guides teach humans new, better ways to recover lost cats. One part of that is dispelling the memes, myths, and old wives' tales that do more harm than good. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Kim on. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. Thanks so much for being here tonight. I'm so excited to have you. So Kim, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and what you do before we really dive in?
Well, I find lost cats. Sometimes that means loading up gear, into my truck to go out on a search and rescue. Sometimes it's live coaching on the phone. Sometimes it's a Zoom call. But most of the time it's people go for the cheapest option, which is the DIY video of how to find a lost cat. So it varies. The mission is always find someone's missing cat.
Yeah. So I know, it's not an easy job, especially when there are so many common misconceptions and myths and stuff about how to find them. So what are some of those misconceptions that, we hear?
That's a great question. There's so many. And I see them almost every day. It seems like every time someone posts a lost cat, here they come. On Nextdoor and Facebook, there's the armchair experts that chime in, including people who've never found a cat in their life. So I know they mean well, but sometimes bad advice is worse than no advice.
Yeah.
So the main ones that I see are, the typical, like put food out, put out something that smells like your cat, put out their cat tree, a bed or a blanket. But the worst is the old wives' tale about the litter box. I suspect most people who have a computer and a cat have seen that one.
Yeah.
They can smell it a mile away. Yeah, it's like, if your child goes missing, put your toilet out on the front porch. So seriously, cats cover their poop for a reason, right? They don't want predators and things to know where they are. And a litter box is inviting the neighborhood cats to come investigate. It's inviting wildlife. It's inviting coyotes. And then the cat ends up hurt, injured, or just pushed further away. So the litter box one is like my nemesis, pet peeve.
Yeah, that's always the one that I hear.
Yeah. But, we've proven it with science. A sack of potatoes would work just as well. Sometimes the cat does come back and people attribute it to the litter box when they were coming back anyway. So it's more like despite the litter box.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so Can you tell us a little bit about lost cat psychology and behavior? Because I know that's a big part of what you do and how you find lost cats.
Yeah, it is. It's the biggest part. I wish people understood lost cat psychology better. Um, I did a whole webinar on this back in January, which is on my website if anyone wants to see it. But lost cat psychology is a lot different than normal cat behaviorist psychology, because primarily because so much changes when a cat is stressed and they're separated from their owner in a new place. So various cat personalities will behave differently. Plus, you got the weather and the terrain. All that can have a big influence too.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, a stressed or displaced cat is going to hide in the day and emerge only if necessary at night. Now, this is a very big general rule. This is for indoor cats and outdoor, like cats that fall out of their carrier in the vet's parking lot. But they generally will avoid all noise and movement. So this includes their owner. A lot of people are like, why is my cat running away from me? I saw him behind the bush and I called him and he ran away from me. A lot of this is because of cats' senses. So their sight, am I getting into this too deeply?
No, go as deep as you want.
All right. Well, a lot of lost cat psychology has to do with lost cat senses. So their sight, their scent, and sound all factor into this a lot. Studies, this is really not going to make anybody happy, but apparently cats don't recognize their owners that well when they're out of context. Humans just look blurry to them outdoors. A cat's sense of sight is, this was covered in the webinar too, it's so different from ours, not only in terms of color, but in distance that they can see and when things are blurry and when they're in focus. And of course, they've evolved to hunt, predators that are pretty close. They're sensitive to movement and they're attracted to movement, but they can't always tell what exactly that blurry thing is. So, they can hear, and then their ears, they can hear a mouse underground. You can be sure they can hear a human walking.
Yeah.
So big footsteps can be scary, especially in the day when cats' vision is not quite as sharp. They see better in dim light. So during the day, it's a scary time, and their psychology just goes into survival mode. They're just like, some big's coming, I'm getting out of here. So that's why they're running from the owner.
Yeah.
People shouldn't take it personally.
Yeah. I didn't realize that their vision was poor in that way, like not being able to recognize people from a distance. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's poor. It's just how cats see.
Yeah,
It's not what we think they see.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. A couple people are commenting that they've noticed, like, if their cat hears a loud noise. Darren says, he noticed this when there's loud noise. It's like his cat didn't even know who he was, even though he's only a few feet away. Stephanie says that she's out with Freya and her husband. She gets spooked if he gets too far ahead. And I've experienced that too with my cat. Like if I'm too far ahead and my husband has my cat on the leash, it's like suddenly it's scary. And I've always wondered that. And I guess because he doesn't know it's me.
Yeah. Also, I don't know how many people have this issue. It certainly do with my cat. If you're out and the cat's focused on sniffing stuff and you try to pick him up when he's in the middle, he'll go and complain really loud. Yeah, that's kind of typical too. They get all focused on their scent, and sometimes they're smelling another animal.
Mm-hmm.
And when you touch them, they're like not sure that it's not that animal that they're smelling.
Yeah.
So it's just alarming.
Yeah, that makes sense. Brenda asks, what about recognizing your voice? Do cats recognize our voices?
I don't know if that has been studied. I suspect it all sounds like Charlie Brown The teacher on Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah. I think they would, but they don't necessarily know that big thing, if they're stressed, that big thing is you.
Yeah.
If you're talking. So I think they would. I've had cases where people's cat was trapped between like a house and a bush, in a corner, and the wind was blowing right. A lot of cats depend on scent more than vision. And, they've got those little radar ears that can not only hear tiny sounds, but they can tell the direction of approach and the speed of approach by the way how the sound comes to each ear. They're just little awesome creatures. I think I heard, I should look this up to be sure, but I think cats have the best hearing of any land mammal other than elephants.
Wow.
Of course, bats don't count because they're not land mammals, but
yeah.
But yeah, cats have little satellite ears.
Yeah. On the subject of like noise and voice and sound focusing, can you speak, Terry wants to know if you can speak to the benefit of trained recall with our cats. Like when we're outside, we do so much training with recall, calling our cat back if they were to slip out of the harness and stuff like that. How can you, I guess, speak about that?
Yeah, this kind of gets into prevention. Training is so key. Recall is super important. Not only should recall be practiced, when you're out on a hike, but it's also good to practice it with a stranger coming towards you, or even get a friend with a dog. I mean, really put yourself in the circumstances that could be a problem and practice it when you don't have to stress. Also good not only to recall, but also make sure that they'll let you pick them up. You need to have, if you're doing clicker training, give them a cue so they know it's you before you grab them. Because if it's a stress situation and you latch onto them, they might freak out.
Yeah,
So,
I've had that happen.
Yeah. Always good to carry a pillowcase too, in case they get fractious and they're not doing recall and you just have to force the issue. But definitely practice picking them up outside and then progressively picking them up in more and more busy places or with more and more people, and then add dogs to the equation. But yeah, all of that is so important.
Yeah. So now let's sort of move into the tools and strategies that you'd recommend for someone to use if they were looking for lost cat. If we're not doing the litter box thing, if we're not, doing the other things that you mentioned that are the no-nos, what should we do?
Well, probably call me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or, if you're at a place where you have internet, download those online search guides. Because
Yes.
I don't always answer the phone. But seriously, every cat is different and each situation is different. There's no cookie cutter advice. Sort of like there's no perfect harness for every cat.
Mm-hmm.
There's the skittish cats who slip out the door, and then there's the adventurous cats who go out every day and suddenly disappear. Those are very different search strategies. So the method depends on key variables, plus like, does your cat like to climb or hide? Does it go up? Does it go down? Was it lost in the summer or the winter? Rural or urban? All those details and permutations kind of factor in to the equation. But I will say the most important thing is don't chase your cat. If you're in a situation, you see your cat shoot out the door, you see your cat jump out of the car. I've had people in wrecks where they saw the cat ejected from the car. Chasing the cat always makes it worse. So try to rein in that human instinct to pursue and grab.
Yeah. What about calling out to your cat?
You can certainly try to call out, try to keep your voice calm and low, not full of stress. But yeah, you can. But if that doesn't work, don't walk around. This is another myth of what people do is walk around shaking the treats and calling all over the neighborhood or all over town or all over the hillside. If that doesn't work immediately, then you risk drawing the cat further away. So let's say the cat slipped out the door and you're walking down the street calling, and your cat finally, comes out of the storm drain and hears you, but you're way on the other end of the block. You're calling them away from home, like the Pied Piper. So yeah, try to use calling only in situations where you can see your cat.
That's a good tip, because I mean, I'm sure that's a mistake that most people make, because that's our instinct. We want to go out in the neighborhood. We want to go and just call and shake the treats and do something to try to get them to come back.
Yeah, it's okay to call and shake treats at home. You're calling them home, but not all over the place.
Yeah. So these strategies that you've mentioned for finding our cats if they're lost, do they differ at all depending on if the cat slipped out of the door at home versus like slipping out of our harness when you're on a hiking trail? Because my community is all about going out and hiking and adventuring with our cats. And if that happens on the trail, is it going to be different than if, they slip out the door at home?
Yeah, definitely. Even out on the trail, it's still no cookie cutter advice, but you would use different tactics, especially based on terrain, weather, and signs from nature. You really want to use like birds. You want to use bird alerts, especially if you have no idea which direction the cat went. Let's say you wake up and you had your cat in a tent and suddenly he's gone. Birds get really agitated when they see a loose cat, and they'll alert each other, that there's a predator in the area. So you'll hear more than just one bird, and they don't sound like they're singing. They're really agitated, and they're pointing. They're going with their beak. They're pointing at the cat, and then they look around at the other birds and point again. So, and then they'll flit from branch to branch. And if you watch them, you can see they'll kind of like not dive bomb, but they'll hop down and then they'll hop back up. Birds are very hot. Birds have helped me find a lot of cats. They're like the air spies.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Especially blue jays and mockingbirds, depending on where you live, they are especially loud. And another clue is if it's multiple species. If you just hear two blue jays, they're probably just fighting and arguing with each other. But if it's multiple bird species, they're pointing out a cat. It may not be yours, but they will do that. They also will do that about snakes. So it's not foolproof.
Yeah.
But sometimes they get excited about snakes too.
Yeah.
Also, when you're out, if you're on a trail and you lose your cat, I had a case, Poncho. This was out in the mountains above Berkeley. Poncho got out of the car. He didn't slip his harness. As soon as they took him out of the car, he was gone. And this was on Grizzly Peak. It was, truly wilderness. Oh. And before they found out about me, they had called in all their friends, and a cat rescue came up, and they put traps while they walked around beating the bushes and calling and shaking trees. I don't know if they put a litter box out in the wilderness, but they had set up traps all over the place, and the smell of the bait had drawn in, I don't know why, deer, because it was meat, but deer, bobcats, and coyotes. The trail cams picked all of them up, coming and looking at the bait. So basically, they were drawing critters into the area where the cat was last seen. Yeah. So that's one thing I caution against. If you're in an area where there could be wildlife, don't just jump out with traps and stinky food. That needs to be your cat's safe zone. So, yeah. I mean, you can use stuff that smells like you. Wildlife's not interested in that, but your cat is. But be careful about using bait. And, limit the foot searches. They had search parties combing the area. And guess what that does?
Scares the cat away.
Right, exactly. So beating the bushes is not good, especially in the day when their vision's not as sharp. They just think they're being hunted.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Um, Brenda is asking, what are the 5 most important things to do to find your cat? Probably varies, I imagine.
Yeah. Ask her if she means an indoor cat or.
She says she hears a lot of home cats accidentally getting out, so probably in reference to a cat slipping out of the house.
Well, it depends if it's a skittish, xenophobic cat or like a friendly, like most of our cats are probably bomb-proof, friendly cats who aren't afraid of noise and strangers. So, and again, weather and how densely populated the area is. I hate to do these top 5s because then if somebody uses them and it's not right for their situation, they could screw
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, if there's not a general answer to that, then yeah, we don't want to give.
Try to think like a cat. That works for every case. Try to think like your cat. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. I will say too, I'm going to take this chance to mention your guide that you have, your Lost Cat guide. I used that just a couple of months ago. We thought one of our cats, Griffin, had gotten out of the house and he was missing for 5 hours. And I mean, I was frantic, of course, and I'm not always the best at staying calm in those kinds of situations, but thankfully my husband is. And so he was, um, handling it much better than I was. And I will admit, we did things we weren't supposed to do. Before I downloaded your guide, we were going around the neighborhood with treats and shaking the treats and calling his name. And then I got home and I was like, oh, the Lost Cat Finder. I've heard of her. I'm going to go look on her website. And I bought your guide and I read it, I was like reading through everything. And of course, oh, well, great. We just did everything we weren't supposed to do. But it turned out he was in the house the whole time. Thankfully.
Where was he? Was he stuck somewhere, just sleeping?
He was in the basement, and the basement is a place we don't allow the cats. It's an unfinished basement. It's, dingy and cobwebby, and we don't let the cats down there, but he must have slipped down there at some point. But we had checked the basement 3 times at that point with like flashlights with the lights out, so we might see his glowing eyes, and nothing. He did not come out until we were about to go to bed, and I heard a little meow.
Oh.
It's like, oh my gosh, I think that's Griffin. And sure enough, we opened the basement door and he came in and acted like nothing was wrong. He was just like, oh, hey, what's up?
Yeah, a lot of times they get home, even after a long time, and they just act like, what's the big deal?
Are you a cat adventurer looking for a sense of community, extra motivation to get out and do more, and ways to strengthen that bond between you and your cat? Or maybe something to challenge you to push the boundaries of cat expectations? Take your adventuring to the next level in our Trailblazers membership community, where I provide monthly challenges and activities designed to give you that extra push, as well as fresh ideas of things to do with your cat. Trailblazers is made up of cat adventurers from all over the world, some just getting started and some with years of experience, all ready to give you support and encouragement, share in your victories and struggles, and help you and your cat reach your goals. You'll find yourself right at home amongst your tribe. Learn more at kittycatgo.com/trailblazers.
Here's a tip. I don't know if this would apply to Griffin, but a lot of times when cats have been lost for, let's say, more than 3 days, scent is so key to cats, and they have a group scent, like lions do. And when you bring a cat that's been lost back into the fold, the others are like hissing and spitting, and even though they can see fine, he smells so different. So if you bring a lost cat home, not necessarily the basement, but one that's been out, go real slow with reintroduction.
Yeah.
You don't want your homecoming cat to be attacked.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
But yeah, and I gotta say, video too. A lot of people don't want to read a book. So
Yeah.
I made a video as well. Because when you're stressed, it's not really a book. I have to show you. It's a booklet.
Yeah. Is that video on your website too? I'm going to drop the link to your website where people can find your guide. And the video is there too?
Yeah, it's a combo. I mean, I'm just showing. It's not all reading. There's a lot of pictures and diagrams. It's a combo. I call it a lost cat kit because it has the little search guide and it has the video and it has a template for flyers, door hangers. It's just a combination of stuff and it
Mm-hmm.
all comes together.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of people just watch the video, which I don't advise because you're only getting like the show and tell demo, like how to use the gear and stuff. But yeah, that is an instant download, that Lost Cat Finder.
Cool. Yeah, I just dropped the link to your website in the comments so people can check that out. Brenda says that one of her cats was an indoor outdoor cat and they never found him. Just want to know what they should do. And Brenda, probably the best thing you could do is contact Kim on her website for a consultation so she can give you, personalized information that will be more specific to your situation.
Yes, and please don't give up. A lot of people, they follow all the tips they get from everybody and it doesn't work and they give up. So, cats are amazing survivors. I found a cat that was lost for 2 years and she was 15 or 18 years old and she survived on her own for 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So don't underestimate your cat, even if you're in, a coyote area.
Yeah. Is that so that's the longest you've ever had before with you helping someone find their cat? 2 years is the longest they were away?
Well, as far as I know, I never know when people are getting the book what their
Yeah.
story is, but
Yeah. That's
yeah,
pretty amazing.
I think 2 years is the record. Yeah.
Yeah. Um so that let's see, what's my next question? I getting distracted by thinking about a cat missing for 2 years. That's what
Ask
kind of
her.
shape was the cat when they found it?
She was in pretty bad shape, but she was alive. I mean, she was really skinny. Her eyes had gotten very weepy. Um,
Mhm.
Cats, not as much as dogs, but cats' appearance can change. The sun will change their coat when they're out 24/7, aged, over 2 years' time.
Mhm.
But the thing, I don't know if I have a good visual here, but the thing to look for if you're not sure, you find a cat, it's like, is that my cat? I'm not sure, is the whisker pattern.
Hmm.
It's like a cat's fingerprint. Every cat has a unique whisker pattern. So that's like, where the little dots come out of their cheek, those stay the same throughout their life. So
Oh.
that and the little triangle. Every cat has a different little nose shape.
Ooh.
So
It's like
those are kind of
fingerprints, like our
uh-huh,
fingerprints.
like a kitty's fingerprint. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Laura is one her neighbor's cat is missing, and the neighbor is convinced that another neighbor trapped the cat and dropped him off in another neighborhood. Do you have any experience with that kind of situation?
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes. Um, uh, I had a I had a case in Austin where this guy. One of the clues when I'm looking for a lost cat is, do you have any neighbors who do their own gardening and have a lot of mulch, especially if it's an old man for some
Mm-hmm.
reason. But this old man had gotten tired of the neighbor's cat pooping in his yard, and he just decided, hey, it's my yard, and he trapped the cat and took it to a behind a tire store and dumped it. Not even like a park, a tire store. Um, so yeah, it does happen, and those are kind of clues I look for. I've also learned to recognize those micro expressions when people like you see this little nose pinch, when you
Mm-hmm.
mention the word cat, and it's a quick little clue that they have an issue with cats or your cat.
Yeah.
But as far as this case, do they? I don't know if they know the place where the cat was dumped, but that's considered, as far as legal proceedings, you can get the police involved in something like that because that's called theft of private property in most states.
Yeah.
But in that case, hopefully it's not a place where there are coyotes. You would want to use a trap and a trail camera. Um, Trail cameras are, to me, more important than traps. You need to know, is the cat in the area? And you don't want to just, a lot of people think traps are this magic wand, but if you just throw traps out and you catch something else, a different cat, and your cat sees that other animal thrashing and panicking in the trap,
Yeah.
they're not going to want to go near it when it's
Yeah.
their turn. So yeah, I recommend they put out cameras to make sure the cat's still in the area and gets used to coming to eat at a certain place. I don't know all the specifics. Maybe they can just sit with an open can of tuna at night when cats can see better, when things are quiet, and a cat may come to them. But oh, my heart goes out to you. That is such a horrible, inhumane, cruel
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So you mentioned the trail cameras. What other kind of tools and strategies do you or like I guess preventatively, I guess trail camera is not going to be preventative, but are there any preventative tools and measures that you can use for those of us who are traveling and venturing with our cat?
Well, if you're, probably the most overlooked tool is a flashlight, a spotlight, a serious heavy duty, like I see people searching with their iPhone flashlight, and I guess it's better than nothing, but a flashlight is really important. I know you don't want to, carry this mammoth flashlight when you're hiking, but they're starting to make, you want to look for something that's at least 1,000 lumens.
Hmm.
And you can get Cree flashlights that are 1,000, 1,200 lumens that are not, giant. So I would definitely keep one of those handy. I don't know if that's considered preventative, but it's an important tool.
Yeah.
Another, I don't know if this is going to be useful, but, another preventative tool, like with that cat that was dumped, I use, whenever I move somewhere new, I give all the neighbors a little flyer that says, this is Henry, this is my cat. He's not lost. I just want you to have my number in case he's causing any problems. If he's making your dog bark or he's walking on your car or, annoying in any way, call me and I'll come get him because I don't want somebody dumping him, trapping him, picking him up and dumping him. So I really advise, I think Nextdoor has something now where you can say, this is my pet, but I think it's better to give out flyers so people know whose cat that is. And if they do get irritated, they'll call you, hopefully.
Do you recommend the flyers, like if your cat is missing, putting flyers up?
Yeah, in fact, let me encourage everyone that is here, please take a photo of your cat in a side view, full body, side view with their head turned towards you. You need a good, I don't know if I printed something out for this, but I get pictures. People just take pictures of the cats when they're sleeping or upside down. You need a picture of the cat the way the world will see it, out and about, running, walking, or at least sitting. So please take a picture, a side view of your cat, preferably with a white background or a plain background, so that, from a distance, it's not just this busy blur. So your cat really stands out, and have that ready. I mean, even go ahead and make mock-up flyers, just in case, so that you don't have to waste time searching your photos and trying to make a flyer while your cat's missing. Those first 48 hours are important. And you don't want to waste them on stuff like that. So get a picture of your cat. I have a flyer template on my website, and you can just download that, pop your own picture and phone number in, and you've got it. Even if you just take a picture of it, so it's on your phone, and you can show it to people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, have that handy. And I don't know why people don't take pictures of their cat standing up from the side. But yeah, I encourage everybody to do that.
Yeah, that's a good tip. I mean, because we're always wanting to take the cute photos, but go ahead and get that photo now, so you have it and like save it in a folder on your computer, so you don't have to go searching through your phone camera and your photos on your computer. Having it easily accessible and findable.
Yeah, or even print up some little ones and carry them with you when you go
Mm-hmm.
somewhere. You can hand them out if you have to.
Yeah.
They don't weigh anything, so yeah.
Yeah.
I encourage people to make like a lost cat kit. So
Mm.
if not my materials, then at least have microchip. I'm sure your audience travels with their chip information handy, but yeah, just anything you might need in an emergency. Flashlight and flyers are key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, so a few people are asking about cat trackers, like GPS, Bluetooth, radio frequency trackers. What are your opinion on those and using those as preventative or finding a lost cat?
Well, I personally, a lot of people think GPS is the only good solution or the best solution, but I personally, and I'm open if anybody wants to change my mind. Last time I checked, I did a lot of research on this when I broke my ankle. I was like, I have to either invent or find the ideal cat tracker. Because I was taking my cat out on lost cat cases. And I was concerned not only that he would get lost, but that I just couldn't see him. So I did a lot of research on GPS. I couldn't find anything that I thought was good for a lost cat. I mean, keeping tabs on them when they go out during the day, maybe. But GPS trackers to me are still too big and heavy, and the battery dies after 3 days. So if your cat's lost, they might as well just have a lock on their neck.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally prefer RF technology for cats. Also GPS is dependent on satellites, and if the satellite can't see your cat, if your cat's under something, or down a storm drain, or even under a car, it may not be able to see them. But RF can pick things up, in, under, outside. I had somebody with I think it was a tab cat tracker whose cat was down a storm drain and it picked them up. They were walking down the street and they got the beep 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 beep, and they couldn't see the cat, but he was down in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like RF, and then to me, on top of the RF, I always use light. To me, low tech is the best because you don't have to count on, your phone or an app
Mm-hmm.
or having your little gadget handy. So after all that research on trackers, I was just like, I'm going to come up with a lighted cat collar that breaks away because, they make them, but they're for dogs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I can show you and talk about those later, but just a
Yeah.
light up collar is, I think, one of the best things you can carry.
Yeah.
Because if it gets dark and something happens, you'll be able to actually see your cat instead of hoping, that they're going to call.
Yeah.
They're going to come.
Yeah, that makes sense. Some people are asking, what is RF? RF is radio frequency. And I have tested out one radio frequency tracker, the Marco Polo.
Yeah.
I have that one, and that one has been my favorite tracker that I've tested out so far. It worked pretty well.
Yeah, that one's really good, but I thought it was a little expensive
It
for an
is.
RF tracker.
Yeah, it is expensive, but when I compared it to like all the GPS trackers have those ongoing monthly fees. And so it was like eventually the Marco Polo ended up being less expensive than those, after a little while.
Mm-hmm. It's a big thing to carry around, though. The receiver has this big
Yeah.
shield, and yeah, but it's good technology and it works. I like I like Marco Polo. Yeah.
Yeah. Darren says, which is better, sounds or smells, and broadcasting something to let your cat know that you're out there looking for them?
The wind, it depends on the weather, whether it's really cold, in which case scent falls to the ground, whether it's hot, in which case scent stirs up off the ground, whether the wind is blowing. But I would say scent. I mean, if you were to see your cat, I would take, instead of just calling, I would take like your flyer and try to waft the scent of you towards the cat, so that they can pick up your scent, do like your underarm odor. But yeah, I think probably to a cat, scent is more important than sound.
Yeah.
To recognize you.
Yeah. So you mentioned your light up collars. Can you tell us about those? And you also have a camera, don't you?
Yes. So the collar was key for Henry, my search cat, because I needed to see him. Like if he went behind some thick bushes that I could not access, I wanted him to go search back there because the cat was probably there, or under a shed, but I needed to still be able to see him. So the light was okay, but sometimes it was, I couldn't see him under a shed. So I have this. I made it for him, but now I'm sell them on Etsy. I made him a collar camera, and this has gone through several incarnations over the years, but this is the reflective collar, and then it's got the camera there, camera on the bottom.
Yeah.
And it also has a harness clip, because some people don't want to use a collar, they just use a harness, so it's got a little clip that can go on the harness. But then, this was good, but when he would run or do anything other than slow, stealthy walk, it would bounce and jiggle, and I was like, the footage was all over. I couldn't see anything specific. So then I went to this, which was way better, and this has a light as well. And then the camera is made so that it hangs at just the right angle, so that when it's on a cat, you can kind of see that it's pointing forward. The cat's neck is at a slant, so it's going that way. So this one was good. And then this one has Wi-Fi. So as long as you've got your phone, you can see what your cat's doing. So if you're just out on an adventure and you want to have your cat film their adventure, you can use your phone so you're not constantly bending over and fiddling with the camera. You can just press play, stop, whatever. The problem with this, though, is if you are more than like 50 feet away, the app loses connection. The camera will still film, but you don't have the Wi-Fi thing because it's got a little hotspot in it. The camera does.
That's cool. So Bitsy is wondering, her cat Endora is an inside cat. Do you recommend that she keep a collar on her?
That is a personal preference. Definitely a microchip. Bitsy, I don't know if it's the same cat that got out and got lost before. But yeah, definitely if a cat has tendencies to be a door darter or has gotten out before, I would put something on her that is breakaway. Especially if it's the same kitty who got out before.
Yeah. Gosh, this has been so informative. I've learned so much about cats and their behavior and all of that. Thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge.
You're welcome. It's so interesting, right?
It is. It is. That's what I love so much. I mean, I hate to say I love my own show, but I do, because every time I have a guest on here, I'm always learning stuff and I love it. So thank you.
I just want to say how cool your audience is. I am so happy to see all the adventure cats. I really feel like it enriches cats' lives. And I absolutely applaud and salute people who, are camping with their cats, people who live in RVs with their cats. And, it's bonding. I just think it's beautiful. I really, really love it.
Well, thanks. I do too. And it is all of those things. It's why I'm always trying to help and encourage people to give it a try. And being armed with all of this knowledge, like what you're sharing with us tonight, is such a big part of that. So, again, thank you for being here tonight and sharing all of that. But I guess that's going to be it for tonight, everybody. If you have any more questions, or if your cat is missing and you need help, definitely reach out to Kim on her website. She does private consultations and like Zoom discussions. And don't you even like travel to people and help them find their cats? So, Kim.
Yeah, I backed off on that when COVID started, but I'm doing it again. So yeah, and I'd like to say also, I don't know if anyone here works with a shelter, but it's so important for shelters to give out better information. I mean, people trust the shelter. They go to the shelter looking for their cat. The cat's rarely there yet. Usually the cat shows up like, months later after it's gotten so skinny that someone can finally pick it up and get it in a carrier. But yeah, if shelters understood that making owners more successful in their searches meant fewer unfound stray cats in the shelter later. I mean, there's a huge connection.
Yeah.
If people knew how to search. So yeah, I wish shelters would put me on their list of resources on their lost and found page. People don't find me until they've, usually 2 weeks. They've tried all the stuff that doesn't work.
Yeah.
But,
that's
maybe one day shelters will.
Yeah, it's a good idea to like let our shelters know about you and what you do and this information, because you're right. So many cats in shelters are lost cats
That people gave up on finding.
Yeah.
Very sad. Hopefully I can make a difference in that.
Yeah.
Hopefully I am making a difference.
Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for being on the show, Kim. I appreciate you sharing your knowledge and advice, and I know it will make a difference for many. For those listening, be sure to follow Kim on TikTok at Cat with a Camera and on Instagram at Lost Cat Finder, and visit her website lostcatfinder.com for more resources and information on finding a lost cat. Are you enjoying the Kitty Cat Go Adventure podcast? Let me know by leaving a review. This will help others to find it and hopefully be inspired to get out there, try new things, and go new places with their cat. What questions do you have about adventuring with cats? Or maybe you'd just like to chat with me about what you learned in this episode. Find me on Instagram at kittycatgoadventures. You can also screenshot this episode and tag me in your stories so I can see who is listening. I'd love to continue the conversation with you, so find me on Instagram or join our Facebook group, Kitty Cat Go Adventure Team, so you can connect with a whole community of fellow cat adventurers. And as always, you can find the show notes, including all links and resources discussed in this episode at kittycatgo.com/podcast. Until next time, happy adventuring.